Hello everybody, I am Karryshh and just sit and watch this one. It's gonna be one hella amazing, creepy, demonic Japanese horror movie. It's newly released and the name is Stigmatized Properties, Possession. The movie does not follow one simple plot line, it's more like an investigation. A man who wants to become an actor go around and live in cursed haunted houses and he witnesses some really bizarre things. I love this movie. Put this one in your bucket list. If you're new, subscribe, like and share. Follow me on Instagram. Your free support is what helping the channel grow. Now sit back, grab your snacks and watch Stigmatized Properties Possession Recap. The story begins inside a steel factory where we meet a kind-hearted guy named Yahiro. He even helps one of his co-workers lift heavy materials, something his managers happens to notice. Later that day, the manager gives Yahiro some good news. He wants to promote him to production line manager. After all, Yahiro's been working there for 11 years, but surprisingly, Yahiro doesn't seem happy about it. The truth is, his dream has always been to become an actor in Tokyo. Even with the promotion, he realizes he will never be happy in this job. So that day, Yahiro decides to quit and chase his dream. The manager was shocked at first, but he doesn't try to stop him. Instead, he gives Yahiro the contact of a man named Kiyoshi. Kiyoshi is a talent manager in Tokyo and he might be able to help him. That's why Yahiro packs up and heads to Tokyo to become an actor. The first thing he does is meet Kiyoshi, who chats with him a bit, gets to know him and then tells him that before any auditions, he needs to find a cheap place to stay. That's why Kiyoshi sends him to a real estate agency called Jiko Bukken, and this means Stigmatized Properties. Basically, this agency rent the houses which are haunted, cursed, or places where no one wants to live cause of previous unalignment, murders, or bizarre deaths. Anyway, at the agency, Yahiro meets an agent named Yoshida who shows him 5 cursed houses. Since Yahiro doesn't have much money, he doesn't have much of a choice but to live in one of them. Yoshida shows him a place where a girl had committed unalignment and it was the cheapest option, so Yahiro ends up renting it. Now look closely when he arrives at the house. Did you see that? There's a creepy ghost standing in the dark, but Yahiro doesn't notice. Throughout this movie, there are several of these silent, eerie spirits just standing still, so keep your eyes open when you watch the movie. The ghost disappears, and Yahiro sets up cameras all around the house. He does this cause Kiyoshi told him to do so. Actually, you see, people online love watching live stream from haunted places. And that's why Yahiro plans to record everything. That night as he was sleeping, the house's cursed spirit crawls over him in a horrifying creepy way and she bites deep into his neck. Yahiro wakes up in pain. He checks the wound in a window's reflection and suddenly sees a girl dragging her head against the wall like a maniac before vanishing. The next day, Kiyoshi texts Yahiro and sends him on a beach where a TV commercial shoot is happening. There they needed background actors and Kiyoshi got him a small part. At the beach before the shoot starts, Yahiro meets a girl named Miko, and the moment he sees her, he's smitten. The two are supposed to act like a couple walking together in the scene. They spend the whole day together and by night, Yahiro's already fallen for her, but he forgets to ask for her number. Later, Kiyoshi shows up and drags Yahiro to a bar, but then suddenly he disappears somewhere else. Yahiro was confused, but then, luckily he bumps into Miko again and turns out she actually works at that same bar. They reconnect and now they become friends. The next day, Yahiro brings Miko over to his place so they can rehearse for an upcoming audition. But during practice, Miko gets a call and an evil voice on the other end tells her to get out of there. Miko was confused, but soon she realized that the call came from Yahiro's number. She starts thinking that maybe Yahiro has another woman living with him, and maybe that's why there's a mark on his neck. Maybe it wasn't a wound, maybe it was a hickey. Yahiro doesn't stop Miko from leaving, but later he finds his phone lying in the bathroom. Then while cleaning up, he also discovers a girl's fingernails buried in the floor, which completely freaks him out. Anyway, that day he goes for a big film audition, and it's a major one. There were well-known judges present, and one of the judges is Hiyori. Now while Yahiro is introducing himself, she notices that the photo on his resume had turned evil. Hiyori then starts seeing strange things around him as well, and then the same thing appears on camera, making the cameraman panic. Cause you see, on Yahiro's shoulder, there's the hand of that evil spirit from his apartment. From that moment, Hiyori realizes that Yahiro is cursed. And that's why after audition, she walks up to him, gives him her number, and tells him to call her if he ever needs help. That night, Yahiro can't sleep. The doorbell keeps ringing, but no one is there. It rings again and again, and then he finally sees that spirit standing outside the door, and it scares him badly. Later, when he finally manages to fall asleep, the spirit comes back and starts choking him this time. The cameras capture strange shadows and eerie noises, and then Yahiro begins dragging his head against the wall just like the spirit did in an earlier scene. Meanwhile, Miko is watching all of this on his live stream, and that's when she realizes that there's no other woman in Yahiro's apartment. It's an evil curse. The next day, Miko rushes to warn him, but the moment she enters the house, the spirit possesses her. In that state, Miko clings to Yahiro and starts acting romantically, which makes it clear that the spirit seems to have some kind of attachment to Yahiro. Yahiro pushes her away and she snaps out of the possession, but right after this, the spirit appears behind Yahiro's shoulder, and it terrifies Miko so much that she screams and ran out of the house to save her life. So much for friendship. Now once she was gone, Yahiro suddenly sees the spirit behind his shoulder in a mirror, and this time he notices that one of her eyes is missing. This terrified him badly, and accidentally he breaks a mirror, which reveals a small cavity behind it with a box hidden inside. Now at this point he calls Hiyori for help. She arrives, opens the box, and finds an eyeball. It was the missing eye of that evil spirit. Hiyori keeps the eye with her, but she tells Yahiro that this apartment is badly cursed, and this curse will eventually drive him to commit unalivement. The same thing happened to the previous tenant, and she explains that the curse is connected to this eyeball, though in this movie we were never told how this curse started. Anyway, after hearing all this, Yahiro quickly moves out before anything worse happens, which was a smart move, cause only an idiot would keep living on a haunted house like this. Now sometime later, Yahiro gets a call from a TV station. They had seen his haunted live stream and they want to invite him as a host for their upcoming supernatural broadcast. Yahiro agrees and he tells Miko about it, but she gets upset because this means he will have to spend nights at haunted locations again, and she doesn't want that. Still, Yahiro goes with his TV station team to explore this haunted hotel. On the way, he sees a creepy old school uniform. This was apparently cursed, though it doesn't play any role in this movie. It's actually included in this movie because something exactly like that was once found in the woods in real life. Anyway, when they reach the hotel, the atmosphere is eerie and the owner shows up and he says that they cannot shoot there even though he has already been paid. One of the team members gives him extra money and then the owner goes into a room and he starts laughing really weirdly. He also talks to some unseen force and he says, "Don't worry, no one will bother you." Yahiro overhears everything and he was obviously creeped out. But later the team give him the script and tell him to wait in a room, but he cannot focus on his work because he hears loud thumping sounds coming from upstairs. When he goes to complain, the whole floor was empty and suddenly a little girl appears behind him and walks into darkness. This terrifies Yahiro and he runs downstairs. He tells everyone what happened but nobody believes him since the live broadcast was about to start. Soon they get him ready and place him in front of the camera. Just before the broadcast begins, the sound guy, Usui, starts hearing strange noises. Everyone hears that strange noise as well, and it sounded like a woman was talking to her daughter. However, they couldn't process it, because then the show goes live. The TV host starts talking to Yahiro, but mid-conversation, the hotel cursed spirit possesses him. While possessed, Yahiro reveals how a mother unalived her own daughter in this very place. Now everyone is horrified with this story, and the spirit starts interfering with the electronics as well, causing chaos even at the TV station. After the show, people assume Yahiro was just acting and they praise his performance. Then that night, Yahiro stays alone at the hotel to continue his live stream. While he was brushing his teeth, we see a ghostly figure standing behind him, but he was gone the very next moment. Later, while taking a bath, he sees the same little girl again. Terrified, he quietly goes to bed and pretends nothing happened. But poor Yahiro could not sleep, because those thumping sounds start again from the floor above. Now he musters up some courage and he goes upstairs to check, and what he sees chills his very soul. A mother was unaliving her own daughter. The little girl's legs were kicking again and again, and that was the thumping sound he was hearing. Just then the mother notices Yahiro watching. She starts crawling toward him in this terrifying way. And honestly, this scene was pure nightmare fuel. But then, Yahiro suddenly wakes up, realizing it was just a dream. Now after freshening up, he goes upstairs again to check that room. However, that room was sealed off permanently. It was the room where the murder happened, but it was boarded shut, and Yahiro now prays for the ghost peace and leaves the hotel for good. Then later that day, he meets up with Miko. She was about to leave the city for a few days on work, but before she goes, they share their locations with each other just in case something bad happens. Anyway, Yahiro goes to see Kiyoshi since he still hasn't been paid yet, but Kiyoshi just tells him to be patient. Now with nowhere to live, Yahiro visits Yoshida again to look for another cheap haunted place. Yoshida shows him a shared house where two other guys already lives, Hajime and Koyama. That night, Yahiro chats with them, and during a video call, he spots a ghostly figure in the background. But at this point, he's kinda used to this stuff. He moves into the shared house, and for the first couple of nights, everything seems fine. Then one night, Yahiro hears an old woman's voice. He suspects it might be the ghost of an elderly woman haunting this place. The next day, he tells Hajime and Koyama about it, and the three of them decide to try communicating with the spirit, which was the perfect content for Yahiro's next live stream. And obviously, to summon a ghost, they pull out an Ouija board. Once everything's set up, they begin the seance, and soon enough, the spirit responds. She says she's a female ghost, 69 years old, and then she says, "This is my blood." Suddenly, the ceiling cracks open, and blood starts dripping onto Koyama. He screams in terror, and they stop the seance abruptly. But even after that, Koyama just keeps laughing uncontrollably like he has lost his mind. Yahiro later shows this footage to Hiyori, who tells him that Koyama has been possessed by that old woman's spirit. She wants Yahiro to keep a close eye on him, but that night when Yahiro returns home, he was horrified to see Koyama standing on the rooftop in a possessed state. Yahiro yells for him to come down, but then the demonic old woman suddenly appears and jumps onto Koyama's shoulder, causing him to fall and seriously injure himself. Here through narration, we learn that Koyama somehow survives, but after that incident, all three of them move out from their house immediately. Yahiro reports everything to Kiyoshi and tells him straight up that he's done living in haunted houses, but Kiyoshi can't do anything about it until Yahiro gets paid. He is on his own. Then Yahiro goes to see Miko, who has just come back from her work trip. Seeing his exhausted state, Miko invites him to stay at her place. Her house was surprisingly big and cozy inside, and once Yahiro settles in, Miko asks why he wants to be an actor in the first place. Yahiro explains that his father died when he was little, and ever since then, he had been miserable. Until one day, a TV celebrity inspired him, saying that people should follow the path their heart desires, not the easy one. From that moment on, Yahiro decided that he wants to become a TV star. And when he asks Miko the same question, she doesn't answer. She just quietly walks away, which was really strange. The next day, Yahiro suddenly sensed the presence of a male spirit behind him, and that's when we realize that Miko's house is actually cursed as well. Then that night, the spirit walks up to Yahiro and wakes him up. Suddenly, he hears Miko screaming. He rushes to check on her and finds her crying and yelling inside the closet. She won't even let him touch her, but the next morning, everything was back to normal. Miko acts like nothing ever happened. That night, Miko suddenly goes far away from home. Her location shows she's about 5 hours away, but when Yahiro asks her about it the next morning, she says she never left the house. The same thing happens again the following night, and this time Yahiro decides to investigate her room. He now suspects that Miko might be possessed, and she was unaware of it herself. While searching, he finds documents showing that she has worked on some successful TV shows, but oddly enough, there's no information about her anywhere online. Then, suddenly Miko returns home and catches him in the act. She looks at him in this evil way before storming out of the house again without another word. Then that night, Yahiro is once again surrounded by the spirit of that man. This face shows him a vision of Miko as a child, and through that vision, Yahiro realizes something traumatic happened to her in the past. Suddenly, he wakes up to a phone call and he finds out that his mother is sick in the village. Yahiro in the morning gets ready to head home, but before leaving, he tries calling Kiyoshi. However, today his number doesn't work. Then, Yahiro goes to Kiyoshi's office, which was locked, and two people nearby tell him that the place has been abandoned for years. This shocked Yahiro. He calls his manager to ask who Kiyoshi really is, but the manager says that he has never heard of anyone by that name. Yahiro then looks at Kiyoshi's business card that his manager gave him earlier, and now it says a completely different name, Satoru. That's when Yahiro realizes that Kiyoshi was never alive. Kiyoshi's spirit had been manipulating Yahiro all along, but why? We're soon gonna find out. Now this disturbs Yahiro so much, but he returns home, where Miko shows up and she was looking completely broken. He comforts her and asks her for the truth. Miko finally opens up and she says that she never talks about her past because her father was an unaliver. Yet, she loved him more than anyone. Here we're taken back to her childhood. We find out that her father was an actor, though not a famous one. He was rarely home, and cause of that, Miko's mother started having an affair. Miko hated living with her mother, so she moved in with her dad, who treated her really well. He was the best father for her, but one night, her mother showed up with her boyfriend to take her back. Terrified, Miko hid, but her mother's boyfriend found her and he started beating her. Her father stepped in and rescued her, and in that struggle, the boyfriend fell down the stairs and he died horribly. After that, her father was arrested, and everyone treated Miko horribly because everyone used to call her the daughter of a murderer. Then, when she turned 18, Miko changed her name and started a new life. Years later, her father was released from prison, and he tried to contact her, but she never answered his calls, and that's what's been haunting her every night. Miko's real name was Karin Fujiyoshi, and her father's name was Kiyoshi Fujiyoshi. Hearing this, Yahiro was stunned. He finally understands everything. Kiyoshi's spirit had contacted him intentionally so Yahiro could protect Miko. Yahiro was a good person, and Kiyoshi thought that he might be the perfect partner for his daughter. Kiyoshi's ghost had orchestrated this meeting. Yahiro realizes all this, but he doesn't tell Miko that her father has died. Not only this, the spirit that Yahiro had been seeing in Miko's house was actually Kiyoshi himself. Now later, Yahiro comforts Miko. He assures her that everything will be okay. Then that night, they decide to visit Yahiro's village to see his sick mother, which might help Miko clear her mind. But as soon as Miko steps out of the gate, it slams shut behind her. Now suddenly she's possessed by her father's spirit and she runs away. Yahiro breaks the door and chases after her, and eventually he finds her in an old, dark, cursed looking house where she's sitting beside her father's corpse. Yahiro is shocked, but now he understands that Kyoshi didn't just want them to meet, he wanted his daughter to find his body so his soul can rest in peace. Miko now tearfully says goodbye to her father, and then Kyoshi's spirit appears one last time. He hugs his daughter and thanks Yahiro for everything. And Yahiro reflects on everything that happened to him so far, finally understanding the entire story. In the end, Kyoshi's funeral takes place, and after that, Miko and Yahiro decide to move to the countryside to take care of Yahiro's mother for some time. Then, sometime later, when the two come back, Yahiro lands a great acting job, and one day in an elevator, he even runs into the same celebrity who once inspired him as a kid. However, not just that, he suddenly spots the ghost of a girl and realizes he can now see spirits, and that's where the movie ends. During the credits, we see real life photos because this story was inspired by true events, which makes the whole thing even more creepier. So, this was the recap video on Stigmatized Properties Possession, and I hope you have liked this video. There is also another part of this movie, and I have already recapped that one, so you can go check it out. I give this movie a solid 7 out of 10. It successfully creeps the soul out of the viewer's body. Now give this video a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe. Our today's like target is only 200 likes. To get updates about this channel, go join Telegram. Or if you wanna get to know me personally, you can follow me on Instagram. That's where I reply to every single one of you. And now I thank you all for watching this video. Stay safe, stay happy, stay alert, because they always see you